I used to be associated with the Interfaith Center for Public Policy. So I'm going to look at this opening from an Abrahamic perspective. As a Christian, retired clergy, United Methodist, I'm going to start from there. And that is to say that we honor to be not just good, but to be very good. And so we have a very great responsibility as people across the world to manage and to care for our world, the earth, the sky, the water, human beings and non-human beings, the whole kit and caboodle. So that's what I want to say to you as a Christian. I want to say to you also from the Abrahamic faith perspective, from the Jewish community, that the Jewish community recognizes that there are times when we must consider our lives, the things we do right, the things we don't do right. And usually one of the things that happens is this occurs in the first week of the high holy days in late September, October. So the first Sunday, the first day, actually Rosh Hashanah, you'll hear this instrument blown. This is a ram's horn. I got this in the old city of Jerusalem. And for many, it's a sign of the law. It's a sign of the prophets calling us to an awareness of what's wrong and that we should repent and do differently. It's a call to the community to examine themselves. And you might remember it was used in the legendary scene of the bringing down the walls of Jericho. So I'm going to say to you that in blowing this horn, we're calling for the bringing down of the walls that stand before us, that resist the kind of things that need to be done to keep our world whole and healthy. There are three sounds. The first one is tekiah, which is a glorious, victorious sound. The next two sounds, the shavarim and the teruah, are going to be sounds that mourn and pain and suffering. But that same sound of tekiah comes back in it again to remind us of the cycle of God's work in good times and bad. First, the tekiah. I'm going to blow the sound out here, okay? The shavarim is three short ones. And then the teruah is a staccato. And then finally we come back to the tekiah, which reminds us of the glorious joy and victory of God. I want to conclude with a prayer that was written last night and sent to me by Imam Rashid Kul in Virginia Beach. Listen to his words. Our Lord, we seek refuge with you from our arrogance, from our ignorance, and from our heedlessness. You trusted us with your perfect creation, but we have broken once again our covenant with you to be the caretakers of it. We claim to be grateful to you, but we can't be grateful until we respect all of your creation. We have allowed ourselves to be selfish and greedy, and our greed has blinded us to the extent of dragging ourselves to our own death. In your covenant, we are supposed to be peaceful to everyone and everything around us. But it looks more and more imminent that we have broken your covenant. We are realizing that we cannot live in peace until everyone and every species around us is in peace. Fires have become very common. Rivers are drying up. Oceans are vomiting their dead inhabitants to the shores. Land animals are becoming more extinct. And maybe soon we may not be able to breathe the clean air you gave us. Have we learned anything from your scripture? I definitely don't think so. We confess our arrogance and selfishness to you, and we ask you to forgive us our sins and ungratefulness. We turn to you for help, for your mercy, and to cause us to regain our consciousness and our senses. If we have turned away from your commands, we seek your forgiveness and we seek your guidance. Help us restore the order in which you created your creation, for we cannot do it without you. Inspire our leaders with wisdom, with respect, and with humility. Let them never make a decision without including in that decision the respect for your creation. We turn to you in these trying times for your wisdom and your guidance, and we submit to you. So help us, God. Amen.
Thank you. This rally is a plea for people to pay attention to climate change. It is real. It is happening all around you. The consequences are life-threatening. You could die because you have no water to drink. You could die because you could not breathe the air. You could die in a wildfire caused by climate change. You could die in a flood caused by climate change. You could die in a pipeline explosion. I could go on and on. Actions have consequences, and these are just a few of the consequences everyone will face if we don't work hard toward a green future. The climate is going to get you no matter where you live and no matter how much money you have. If I sound like an alarmist, it's because I am truly alarmed by what is happening and the fact that so many people are ignoring it. My hope is that the event today, put on by just ordinary citizens who care about everyone, will move you to reach out to the Virginia legislature to take meaningful action now. So let's flip from a die-in to a live-in and hear from people who have a wonderful answer to the Green New Deal Virginia. Sam, you're on. Everybody, you can get up now because we're going to be only positive.
Your leadership. Thank you, Lee, for always being there. As I look around, we've got our friends from Northern Virginia to Hampton Roads, Richmond area, across the region. What we've seen is every day we've had major action. Last year we were spending time trying to convince certain legislators even the need for a 100% bill. This year, the great thing is we're debating who's going to carry the 100% bill and then how far it's going to go. So the conversation is evolving all of the time. But there are many difficult moments along the way. And so what I believe, and this is something that is deep within Marilyn Karp. Marilyn, come up here for a moment. One thing, and I'm glad that we had the pastor here. Thank you for your kind words and for sharing the prayer from the imam that he mentioned to us. Marilyn and I, as a Jewish American, as a Muslim American, we have the same Semitic blood. And within this Semitic blood is something deep that says that when we see this injustice, it is critical, regardless of what the odds are, to always speak up. And so when times are tough, when things are difficult, we always have one major question. We ask, are we going to be on the right side of history? Is this group going to be on the right side of history?
Yes!
We have to. Because sometimes the mighty few are we, but we kick open the door for others to come through. And as we said last week at the Green New Deal rally, the Fourth Circuit, which has stopped has stopped the Atlantic Coast Pipeline, talked about our work as a team, our work to elevate the injustice of kicking those Air Board members off, the injustice of not doing the due diligence that is needed. That is what we do. We carry this torch regardless of what the odds are. So it's important to keep that at the center of all that you do, is just ask this question: am I on the right side of history? And if I know I'm going to be on the right side of history, it doesn't matter what else is going on. That's why I'm proud to stand very firm with each and every one of you, every day. Thank you so much for all of your advocacy. Thank you to Marilyn for being such a tireless voice in all of this. I can't wait to see what we pass this session, but also continuing to shift this conversation as we search for justice. Thank you.
Thank you. That I must have amplification because I couldn't possibly be heard from in the back row. So thank you all for coming out on this horrible day, but we needed the rain, so that's the good thing. I'd like to say that I speak for the trees, and I really do think that that's the only reason why I'm here. The trees, the baby kangaroos, the koalas, what is the name of our newt in Nelson County? The red? Yeah, the newt in Nelson County that's in the pathway of the Atlantic Coast Pipeline. What kind of salamander?
Hellbender.
Hellbender salamander. And then we have the rusty patch bumblebee where the Mountain Valley Pipeline is going to go through. But then we have the children in Richmond City, and we have the children in Hampton Roads, impacted by asthma rates and low birth weights and all of the other secondary issues caused by us polluting their air and their water while they're in their mother's tummies and after they're born. And we look at the statistics. We have billions of dollars every year attributed to the healthcare costs of not doing anything to climate change, to fight climate change, and our air pollution and our water pollution. Then we have other statistics that talk about the billions of dollars every year that governments, state, local governments, have to pay to correct the crises caused by extreme weather events. We have floods in Hampton Roads. We have supercell in the storms in the summertime that cause trees to go down, and there's property damage, and cars are crushed, and the financial impact on all of us right now is overwhelming, and it's not being taken into the calculus of how expensive climate change is. And we need to shine light on how much these unregulated utilities are costing us by not transitioning faster to clean, renewable energy sources. And then the other piece is our labor forces. In the state of Virginia, we all know we are #1 for business and dead last for workers' rights. And it all is hand in hand. We need project labor agreements. We need to unionize. We need to collectively bargain. My daughter is a nurse, like her mother. She makes a couple $1,000s more a year than I made in 1986 in Pennsylvania as a full-time registered nurse. And that is obscene to me, that we so undervalue our nurses, our teachers, our firefighters, our policemen, and our everyday American workers. Let alone the kids who go back to school who get talked into going back for further degrees and putting themselves more in debt because they can't get a job right out of college anymore. They're told they have to get free internships. They have to work for somebody for free, and then you can go back to grad school, and then you can get another tuition ring around your neck to carry on into your 40s and 50s. It's the way we are treating our middle class and the way they are teaching us to turn on each other instead of forming coalitions and joining hands and fighting against the people who are putting us all in this predicament together has to stop. We have to come out of our silos, as Sam says. Reach across the aisle if you have to. Reach into other demographics where outside of your comfort level. Go places you're not used to going, having conversations with people that you're not used to speaking to, and you see we're all in this together, and we can fix this together by just showing up together. We outnumber them. You've all seen the meme of the fish, the big school of fish. They're all being chased by the giant shark. But when they organize and they get together, they turn around and they can defeat the shark. And so that's what we all need to do. Thank you all for coming. I don't know if I'm supposed to be passing the mic to somebody else. Marilyn? Amanda. All right.
Today, so she wrote something that we're going to read, that Amanda's going to read.
Afternoon, everybody. So in Stacey Lovelace's words, I'm a mother, and like so many mothers, I have an acute awareness of climate change because it threatens my children's and all other children's futures. And this threat isn't equal. My children will be some of the luckier ones, but there are children from communities, predominantly low-income communities, communities of color, and indigenous communities that will suffer earlier and worse. Many that are suffering right now as we speak due to fossil fuel pollution, and in many cases in addition to a lack of quality of jobs. That's why the Green New Deal Act, HB 77, is so crucial. Not only does it meet the facts of climate change, but it does so while realizing that climate justice is inseparable from social, economic, and racial justice. And it paves a path for Virginia to address some of these, inequalities as we transition to 100% renewable electricity, and in turn create jobs without leaving those communities behind. And Virginia has a real opportunity to lead with the Green New Deal Act. Our state could inspire others to pass similar initiatives, which is crucial since our federal government is focused on fossil fuel build-out and climate denial. Lesser bills like the industry-written and deceptively named Clean Economy Act also amount to a form of climate denial because they deny the urgency of the climate crisis that our collective home is facing, and they don't provide adequate protections for the communities who need it most. They are half measures designed to provide politicians political cover and the opportunity to claim that they acted on climate, while instead they continue to cater to corporate donors, like Dominion Energy, and to continue to perpetuate the immoral Virginia way. Half measures that waste the precious little time that we have left to address the climate crisis. It's time to shut down the Virginia way. It's time to shut down business as usual. It's time to pass the Green New Deal Act, HB 77. We must. Anything less isn't an option. Please continually make sure your legislators know it. Thank you.
To echo Sam Rasool's words and say that just because you're a small group doesn't mean you can have lots of power. I'm old enough to have been privileged to hear Margaret Mead in person. She came to my college and I was able to hear her speak, and I'm sure all of you can recite her famous words about how important a small group of people can be. In fact, she says that's the only thing that has ever moved anything on this earth. So if we start small, but we're powerful and we keep at it, I believe in Margaret Mead's words that we will succeed and that the Green New Deal will come through, because we have no alternative. We need to do it. And I'm speaking for my grandchild, Axel, who's 6.5, and my little baby grandchild, Viggo, who is 1.5 years. What is their world going to look like if we don't stand up? At least they'll be able to say that Grandma did something, like a die-in. So when Marilyn asked us to take this action, I was on it right away and decided to go. I think we will be successful if we just keep going and we keep showing up and we keep talking to our neighbor to the left and our neighbor to the right. And then eventually everybody will see the light. Thank you.
Plus or minus a half hour. The Privilege and Elections Committee in the Senate is in the process of killing legislation right now that would prohibit campaign contributions from Dominion Energy and AEP. I've been an observer of the Virginia General Assembly for over 20 years now, and the game basically is being played the same. The Democrats are now in charge. We're going to see some progress on important legislation related to guns and related to voting rights and other matters as well, the Equal Rights Amendment. But when it comes to energy, Dominion is still calling the tune over there. And I think it's incredibly important that we support the students of the Sunrise Movement and join them anytime we can to speak truth to corrupt power. Speak truth to corrupt power that is the General Assembly. The leadership of the General Assembly in both the House and the Senate have now arranged for the key energy committees to have a majority of votes for Dominion. That means that the passage of legislation that we were lobbying for today is most unlikely. unless people get up and shame these legislators. I think you need to get up and talk about the future. I was talking to a prominent legislator just a couple months ago. She had no idea who Greta Thunberg was. I think we need to share the words of Greta. We need to share your words. We need to let the legislators know that we are not going to stand by and let them destroy the planet, because the General Assembly, the way it's run, is an old boys club, even with more women involved in it. And it's just a big game. To them, it's a game. You kill my bill, I kill your bill. You pass for my bill, I pass your bill, okay? And the people pulling the strings are some of the key industries like Dominion. And we need to cut those strings, and we need to let the legislators know that we will not tolerate that anymore. So when you get up to testify, you don't have to be overly polite. That's the Virginia way. You need to tell them what you think. You need to express that you are outraged that this legislature still has not come face to face with the climate crisis, that there is a climate emergency that they need to address, and that unless they stand up and address it, they are bringing shame on themselves, on the General Assembly, on Virginia, and they're bringing horrible consequences to their children and all the children and future generations that will bear the brunt of their lack of action. Thank you.
One of the things we have to do now is to focus on these subcommittee meetings and committee meetings and show up, bring your phone, take pictures, take videos. Listen, I have a lot of power because I do a lot to get out the vote, and I have helped a number of legislators get into office, and they all know that. And when I go and tell them that I expect them to support the Green New Deal because otherwise I am going to work on voting them out of office, and that is not a threat. That is merely a statement of fact. And that's how you have to talk to these guys, okay? Because they think there's nothing you can do. But there's a lot that you can do. And so people have wonderful to send letters and petitions and emails. Do all that stuff. But most importantly, show up and we'll do some more die-ins. Or if somebody can think of you want to do something that will get media attention, because that's what they really listen to. So thank you all for coming. Does anybody else want to say something?
Yeah, I want to speak as your photographer now when I come through here or I catch you at any other events. I did the climate march, the climate deal in D.C. as well, the Women's March. I'm mainly about hemp and cannabis, as you can tell, and water is life, and I also speak as a veteran from Standing Rock. I did the march. I went to Standing Rock from December the 2nd to the 6th. We stopped the pipelines until Trump got into office. He has oil eyes, that's obvious, with him and his cronies he set up in office. I also did the march in Washington for Water is Life, 11, 27, 16. You will find all these pictures, because see, I was a photographer with Furman, DeSantis, and I'm done, but I'm never finished. One Jew, one Italian, one stubborn Irish. In D.C. and Washington for 20 years, shooting for every Tom, Dick, and Harry, but now I shoot for we the people. Because I'm on retirement and I'm having fun making it count as well. But there was something else. Oh, so you can find all these free photos on my Facebook. I'm old school, slow school, but good school. I only do Facebook right now, but I'm going to be growing. It's SOS, which stands for Saving Our Society. And then the pack, a new pack, not a six-pack, not a pack of cigarettes, but a new freaking deal, because the old deal sucks. These self-serving, corrupt corporate government officials. We can call them out also with opensecrets.org. They give you their top 20 sponsors, how much, and their voting records on bills that affect we the people. And back on the pack, it's PACT. And the pictures are already up from January 8th here, as well as the ERA. I was shooting for them, and I also went over and made a couple comments at the pipelines deal, because water is life to our Mother Earth, all our animals, and us. And so we just got to keep on moving on, and like I agree with everything that she said as well. And that's why she's doing what she's good at what she's doing. And so I thank you, and I'm glad to be here. Enjoy the photos, but keep giving them game, and I'll invite anybody as well. I'll be back here Tuesday with the Virginia Industrial Hemp Coalition, because I'm also with them. I did their past several years, and I see a big tree picture back there with Lee. You know, it was saving the trees. We need to use the hemp. You can make over 50,000 different products. You can make toilet paper. You make paper. You can eat it. You can drink it. You can heal with it. The CBD. And if you get a chance, step in on our bill on the CBD. They're trying to take the name out of the CBD. Our farmers need to grow this cop, for the people and for the land, and take the place of tobacco, And so I thank you very much, and I think that's about it for now.
Ask if there's any of you out there who really would like to say something, but you feel very shy and you think you're gonna die if you come up here and you say just a few words. The more you do it, the more it comes. So if somebody would like to say something, please come. You're here among friends.
I can put in a few words for 350 Loudon. I'm Chris. I'm here from 350 Loudon up in Northern Virginia. It's really great to see all you guys, even though we always see each other this same way. I don't know about you all, but I dream of the day that we don't have to meet up for climate reasons, and we can all just kind of meet up and have a good time. I'm not sure exactly what the temperature is today, but it's warm enough that I can be wearing a t-shirt, which is really probably too warm for mid-January. I keep hearing that, here's what I want to tell the legislators. I keep hearing that Green New Deal has no shot, isn't going to happen. What I want you all to hear is get it a vote on the floor, because we need to know why if it doesn't pass, we want to know why. We need to know why. We need progress on this issue. If we're not going to get it, we need to know why. We need to know where the weak points are. So get it out of committee at least, and try to get us some good progress on some sort of climate legislation. We had 82-degree days in February. When me and Amanda were organizing bus rides to People's Climate March in 2016, it was easy because we had 82-degree days in February. Anyone was going, this is obviously unnatural. Now half of Australia is on fire. If y'all aren't getting the message yet, I don't know what we need to do to make it happen. Please support Green New Deal. Please support the other climate bills and get these out of committee so that we can see what's happening with them. Great to see everybody. Thank you.
Buddy, I guess I'm a textbook example of someone who didn't prepare anything, but it's important to speak regardless. I've been doing the General Assembly session stuff for 5 years, and I don't really want to focus on policy with these remarks as much as I just kind of want to tell you all, I guess as the resident young speaker so far, anyway, although maybe some other folks will be there, why even in the face when everything seems like it's against us, even when the Virginia way feels like a way backwards instead of a way forwards, I still have hope. And it's not so much to do with our legislators as much as it is to do with you all. In 2017, voters came out in droves and gave a mandate that we wanted something different, specifically around key issues, one of which was Medicaid expansion. And Medicaid expansion was important to a lot of people, including my family, because my brother was born without the right valve of his heart, and he could only work part-time. And he made too little money for qualifying for Medicaid expansion, or for qualifying for Obamacare, but not enough for Medicaid expansion. So he's in that gap. 600,000 people depended on Medicaid expansion. And that was my third year in 2018, when we didn't really have as many advocates doing these things. Maybe one lobby day, 2 lobby days, something along those lines. But that was the first year that people started coming out in droves. Normal, everyday folks who never thought that they could rely on their political system to represent them. They started to decide that their voice meant something. And during that time, for the first time, at least since I had been working in this, we saw the voice of everyday people, the voice of people who are actually impacted by these issues. The folks that actually were going to have their lives make or break based off the decisions that a few of them get to make. And it passed. It didn't pass out of committee during a few times. We heard some heartbreaking stories from parents and concerned citizens, folks who had a personal tie just like myself. But but what happened was the media started covering and it started to influence the political narrative. We have a lot of things going on right now, whether it's climate or education, another big one, or our teachers who are doing really a service for our communities and not really being paid as much as the debt that not being treated by society as much as they put into it. And I heard from some of them a few weeks ago who have 5 demands about salary increase, and one of the things that we talked about was, why is this important to you? Some of them had said, I have to ask my parents for money to pay for my children's education. I had to move back in with my parents because my husband lost his job because he got sick. And even when I had asked them, like, okay, you have 5 different demands, only one of salaries, what would be the one that you could get? And they said, we need some more support staff more than anything else because that's what's best for our kids. I know that's environment and educational policy, but it represents the spirit of why you guys are here today. It's because we're doing this not for ourselves, but because we believe it's the right thing to do. That there's this belief out there that we need to retain that real patriotism or real the Virginia way should be that when people are struggling, whether it affects us or not, we should do something about it. Medicaid expansion happened because of folks like you all, and that was one of the ground-speaking things. And because of that, my brother has health care today. It literally saved his life. But we were told over and over again from people from both sides of the aisle that it was a non-starter, but it was because of you all that got there. The one message I want you to all take from this is not kind of a dismal outlook that some of us kind of have a hard time moving beyond, but really that we can be our own champions. We don't have to wait for someone else to open the doors for us. We can be the folks who forge our own path, to forge a better future. It starts right here with that spirit that those teachers have, with the folks that came in 2018 to make sure that healthcare was being given to folks that we weren't technically connected with. But it's from you all, showing up. It really does make a difference. I've heard from legislators and from other folks who have been here, and we need more people down here to be there. And once they come, they can be proven that their voice matters. So even though it seems like things are pretty bleak, I still have hope because of you all. I still think there's a better future ahead of us. And I believe that it's people like you who are going to light the way. And the next story, whatever the chapter is in America, I think if it's going to be better, it's one we're going to write together. Thanks.
So much for coming. Get home safely. We're going to do this again. All right. I love you all. Yes, we can. Yes, we will. Expect us.
Yes.
All right.